2006, a Catholic priest in Albuquerque, New Mexico, named William Sanchez decided to take a DNA test. He was curious about his ancestry in the way anyone might be. Nothing more than that. When the results came back, the testing company called him directly. The man on the phone asked, "Did you know you were Jewish?" Sanchez was a Catholic priest. He had served communion his entire adult life. His family had been Catholic for centuries. But the DNA did not lie. He carried the Cohen modal haplotype, a genetic marker found almost exclusively in men descended from the Jewish priestly caste, the direct descendants of Aaron, the brother of Moses. A Catholic priest from New Mexico was carrying the DNA of the Jewish high priesthood in his veins and had no idea. That story is extraordinary. But it is not unique. Over the last 2 decades, DNA testing and genealogical research have revealed hidden Jewish ancestry in the family trees of some of the most famous people on Earth. Some of them had no idea. Some of them already knew they were Jewish, but learned devastating truths about what their families endured, and some of them discovered connections to other celebrities that nobody saw coming. These are 10 celebrity DNA discoveries that rewrote what they knew about themselves. And at least half of them will genuinely shock you. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Number 10, Ana Navarro. Ana Navarro is a political commentator and co-host of The View who was born in Nicaragua and raised Catholic. She had no reason to suspect any Jewish ancestry in her family tree. Then she appeared on the PBS show Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr., and DNA analysis revealed that she carried genetic markers consistent with Sephardi Jewish heritage. The most likely explanation is that Navarro descends from conversos, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews who were forced to convert to Catholicism during the Inquisition in the late 15th century, and whose descendants spread across Latin America carrying hidden Jewish DNA that surfaced centuries later in a DNA test on a television show? Navarro was visibly moved by the discovery. For a Nicaraguan Catholic woman to learn that her bloodline traces back to Jews who were forced to abandon their faith over 500 years ago is the kind of revelation that makes you question everything you thought you knew about your own family. Number 9. Gloria Reuben. Gloria Reuben, the actress best known for her role as Jeannie Boulet on the medical drama ER, also appeared on Finding Your Roots and discovered Jewish ancestry in her DNA results. Reuben, who is Black and Canadian, had no prior knowledge of any Jewish connection in her family. The discovery added an unexpected layer to her understanding of her heritage and illustrates a phenomenon we have covered extensively on this channel. Jewish DNA has traveled through populations across the world in ways that most people never suspect. Black, Latino, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern populations all carry traces of Jewish genetic heritage at rates that continue to surprise researchers and test takers alike. Number 8. Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba is one of the most recognizable actresses in Hollywood, known for her roles in Dark Angel, Sin City, and Fantastic Four, as well as for founding The Honest Company. She identifies as Mexican American on her father's side and has Danish and French ancestry on her mother's side. She did not grow up with any connection to Judaism whatsoever. When Alba appeared on Finding Your Roots, DNA testing revealed Sephardi Jewish markers in her genetic profile. The most likely explanation is the converso pathway. Alba's Mexican heritage connects her to the Spanish colonial world, where crypto-Jewish families lived for centuries after the Inquisition forced them to convert. As we covered in our video on why so many Latinos have Jewish DNA, a landmark genetic study found that roughly a quarter of Latin Americans carried detectable Sephardi ancestry. Jessica Alba is one of them. She just did not know it until a television show told her. Number 7. Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish's discovery is one of the most personal and emotionally complex on this list. The actress and comedian best known for Girls Trip took a DNA ancestry test and discovered that her roots traced to Eritrea, confirming a connection to her estranged father, who was an Eritrean refugee. But the discovery went deeper than geography. The Eritrean connection linked her to the Ethiopian and Eritrean Jewish traditions, communities that have practiced Judaism in the Horn of Africa for over 2,000 years. Haddish did not just accept the discovery passively. She actively explored her Jewish identity, studied Jewish traditions, and in 2019, had a Biat mitzvah ceremony at the age of 40. She read from the Torah in Hebrew. She celebrated with a party. She spoke openly about what the experience meant to her. "I'm Jewish," she said in multiple interviews afterward, with a directness that left no room for ambiguity. Tiffany Haddish went from not knowing her father's identity to discovering Jewish ancestry to standing at a bima reading Torah in Hebrew. That is not a DNA result. That is a transformation. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Number 6. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In December 2018, during a Hanukkah candle lighting ceremony at an event in the Bronx, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez told the audience that her family has Sephardi Jewish ancestry. She said the roots trace back through Puerto Rico to the Spanish Inquisition, when Jews were forced to convert to Catholicism and their descendants scattered across the Spanish colonial empire. The announcement made international headlines. Reactions ranged from celebration to skepticism, but the genealogical research supporting her claim is credible. Puerto Rico was settled by Spanish colonists, many of whom were conversos seeking distance from the Inquisition. DNA studies and genealogical records have documented significant Sephardi ancestry in Puerto Rican populations. AOC is not an anomaly. She is one of millions of people in the Caribbean and Latin America whose family trees contain Jewish branches that were deliberately hidden for 5 centuries. The difference is that she said it out loud on a stage with cameras pointed at her. Number 5. Lea Michele. Lea Michele, the actress and singer best known for her role as Rachel Berry on the television series Glee, appeared on the TLC show Who Do You Think You Are in 2016 and discovered something about her heritage that she had never known. While Michelle had always identified as Italian-American, the genealogical research conducted for the show revealed that she has Sephardi Jewish ancestry. Professor Devin Narr of the University of Washington, one of the leading scholars of Sephardi history, helped Michelle trace her family's roots back to Sephardi Jewish communities in the Mediterranean. The discovery was emotional for Michelle, who had never known about this branch of her heritage. The episode was significant because it introduced the concept of Sephardi Jews to a mainstream American television audience. As Professor Narr noted, most Americans probably have never heard of Sephardic Jews. The fact that a star of one of America's most popular television shows turned out to have Sephardi roots brought a hidden chapter of Jewish history into living rooms across the country. Number 4. Larry David and Bernie Sanders. This one is not about discovering Jewish ancestry. Both Larry David and Bernie Sanders already knew they were Jewish. What they discovered was each other. When both men appeared on Finding Your Roots, DNA analysis revealed that the comedian who created Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm and the senator who ran for president of the United States are distant cousins. They share genetic ancestry that traces back to Jewish communities in Eastern Europe. The discovery was made even more entertaining by the fact that Larry David had already been impersonating Bernie Sanders on Saturday Night Live, and the resemblance between the two men had been a running joke for years. The DNA confirmed what everyone had been saying. They are not just lookalikes, they are family. Two of the most prominent Jewish men in American public life, one in comedy and one in politics, connected by DNA that neither of them knew about until a television show told them. Larry David's reaction was exactly what you would expect from the man who created Curb Your Enthusiasm. "I was always told we were related to nobody," he said. "We were the most unrelated family in history." If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Number 3, Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, the actor who somehow has not aged since 1995, already knew he was Jewish. His parents were both of Ashkenazi descent. But when he appeared on Finding Your Roots, what he learned about his family's specific history was something no amount of general knowledge could have prepared him for. The show's researchers traced his grandfather's story back to England, where he had emigrated from Eastern Europe before World War II. What Rudd did not know was the extent of the anti-Semitism his grandfather had faced in England even after the war. The research revealed documents and records showing systematic discrimination against his family in a country that was supposed to be a safe haven. The discovery hit Rudd hard. He is known for being one of the most likable, easygoing actors in Hollywood, and watching him process the reality that his grandfather was persecuted for being Jewish in a country that was simultaneously fighting the Nazis was a moment of genuine emotional power. He did not know what being Jewish had cost his family. Number 2, Andy Samberg. Andy Samberg, the comedian and actor known for Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Saturday Night Live, opened Season 5 of Finding Your Roots with a discovery that connected his family to one of the darkest chapters of Jewish history. Samberg knew he was Ashkenazi Jewish, but the specifics of his family's experience during the Holocaust had been largely unknown to him. The show traced his family's roots back to Eastern European Jewish communities that were devastated during World War II. Samberg learned the specific details of what happened to relatives who did not make it out of Europe. The moment was difficult to watch because Samberg is known for being one of the funniest people in entertainment, and the contrast between his public persona and the weight of what he was learning on screen was striking. Finding Your Roots has a particular power when it confronts comedians with tragedy. The gap between who they are on stage and what their families endured is where the most powerful moments of the show emerge. Number 1, Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson already knew her mother was Jewish. She knew her maternal family came from Poland and Russia. She knew she was of Ashkenazi descent. What she did not know, until she sat down in front of Henry Louis Gates Jr. on Finding Your Roots in 2017, were the specific names and fates of the relatives she had lost. The show traced her maternal great-grandfather, Saul Schlamberg, who had immigrated from a small town in Poland to New York's Lower East Side in 1910. He was not yet 25, he was alone, he was poor. He reportedly sold bananas at a market on Ludlow Street. He had left family behind in Poland, and those family members, the ones who stayed, were murdered in the Holocaust. Gates presented Johansson with documents showing that her great-grandfather's relatives, including a 15-year-old girl named Zlata Slomberg and a 17-year-old boy named Mandel Slomberg, had died in the Warsaw Ghetto. Johansson broke down. She could not speak. The most powerful actress in Hollywood, the highest-grossing female star in film history, sat in a chair and cried because she had just learned the names of the teenagers in her family who were murdered by the Nazis. But the story did not end there. After the episode aired, a family in Israel watched it. Gili Rosenfeld, a 29-year-old video editor in Tel Aviv, recognized the names. Zlata and Mandel Slomberg were the siblings of her own grandmother, Sarah. Rosenfeld called her mother in California and her sister in New Jersey. They watched the episode together, and they realized that they were related to Scarlett Johansson through the very relatives whose deaths had made her cry on television. A Holocaust story. A family separated across continents. A television show that brought the names of the dead into a living room, and a connection between strangers who did not know they were family until they watched the same episode and recognized the same names. That is what DNA and genealogical research can do. Not just tell you where you come from, tell you who you lost, and sometimes who you still have. 10 celebrities, 10 discoveries. Some found out they were Jewish for the first time. Some learned what being Jewish had cost their families. And one discovery connected a movie star in New York to a video editor in Tel Aviv through the names of 2 teenagers who died in the Warsaw Ghetto 80 years ago and were remembered, finally, on a television show that neither of them could have imagined. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Thank you for watching. If you want to go deeper, the next video on your screen is one you will not want to miss. I will see you there.